What's going on, guys? Welcome along to another video. I'm over at DSR, and as you can tell, I'm taken out to the S1000RR from BMW. It's a beautiful day. Let's go and enjoy some Welsh roads. If you go onto BMW's website, one of the main things they say about this bike is it is designed for the track but is suitable for the road, and as soon as you sit on this, couldn't be more true. The pegs are right under your bum, so they're really aggressive riding style. Knees are quite high, you're leant forward quite a lot. There's a lot of weight over onto the handlebars. You're ready just to attack those corners on any track. Question is, how does it fare on the UK roads? I've got a little bit harder because I've got a camera on the helmet and I've got a day sack with a fair amount of kit in, so my head's going to be a little bit heavier and there's going to be a little bit more weight on my top half. For the average Joe who doesn't have any of this kit, might find it a little bit different. I'm 6'1" and I am in a very cramped riding position, so if you are on the taller side, just be prepared for that. Kicking us off then, let's start off at the engine with this bike. We've got 999cc, producing 113 Nm of torque, but the real number, brake horsepower, is 210. That is an insane amount of brake horsepower, and let's face it, more than you will ever need on the UK roads. If you do take this thing on track though, it's insane. This bike is your typical inline 4 and it's super powerful. So for me, I'd say it's got this linear power curve where you just twist that throttle and it just increases at a steady pace. It's not a massively torquey bike. A lot of bikes that have got more torque are really grunty and powerful and punchy down low and then kind of taper off as they get higher up in the speed and the rev range. Not this bike. This thing just pulls just continuously. You could be lazy, leave this thing in 6th gear and it's still got enough to pull you through. That is the kind of beauty of inline 4s. You don't always have to work the engine to make sure you're in the right gear. 2nd gear, just goes. This has got a quick shifter up and down, and I tell you what, it is one of the smoothest shifters I've used. I think the only other shifter of similar smoothness would have been Kawasaki's. This thing, you can't even tell you've changed gear, it's that smooth. I'm going to shut up and enjoy some of these twisties. So we'll do those twisties again, but this time I'll talk my way through it, discuss certain points: handling, braking, suspension. As I was saying at the start of this section, quick shifter, so smooth, just up and down, doesn't matter. Being my size, I'm not the most flexible, so on a bike like this, when I start getting into the more aggressive, I would normally put my toes on the edge of the pegs. Kind of struggle just because like I said, I'm not very flexible. You can get them there, but it's not a position I'd leave it in for very long. I'm starting to get some vibrations, got a numbness in the hands and the feet. A bike like this, you kind of want to leave it in the lower gear. So that you can just really get on it and enjoy the roads. Handles beautifully. Just flick side to side. I apologise if the wind is quite noisy at the minute. This screen isn't doing a whole lot. What I like about the the power curve on this is it's predictable power. I can get a fistful of that throttle and I know how the bike's going to handle. Like, it's not filled with torque. Doesn't want to just let that front end come up. Handling is just so precise. Exactly where you want to go in the corner. This thing just drops into it. The brakes on this are BMW's own brakes and they're fantastic. For me, they've just got that just amount of right of initial pickup and initial bite, which I really like. But then they are super strong if you're going in too hot into a corner. I'm heavier than the average rider at 115 kilos, so there's a lot of me pushing down the suspension. So far it handles really nicely. I'm not getting pogoed or bounced around, I'm not hitting any bumps and just jarring my back. So at the minute, I'd say the suspension is actually set up really nicely for myself. This BMW is going to set you back £17,150, and that is the stock S1000RR in black. If you want to get it in red, so the red and black, you're going to have to pay an extra, I think it's like £400 or so. So coming in at around 17.5. And then if you want your traditional BMW red, white and blue, which I think looks beautiful, that unfortunately you can only get with the M package, which is going to be an extra £4,500, pushing this up to 22.5. Yesterday I was on Ducati Panigale V4, the standard one, and at stock that's £22,300. This stock £17,150. You've got £5 difference there without having the pure electronic suspension, the forged wheels. On the V4, if you go for the V4S, which is your electronic suspension, forged wheels, etc., that pushes that up to 27,000. Stock 17 to V4 22, or if you want the M package, which gives you electronic suspension, you're looking at 22 over the V4S, which is then 27. But I'm having absolutely no dramas with this suspension, and I'd say this handles better than the Panigale V4. That it just didn't seem to kind of want to just float and flick around, whereas this just goes. Oh yes, oh yes. Moving on to the electronics package the S1000RR has. We've got your standard daytime running lights and your LEDs all round, something you kind of expect nowadays. We've got a lovely 6.5-inch TFT screen, which does have the BMW Ride connectivity app, so you can get turn-by-turn navigation on here. Luckily, because there's not really anywhere to mount, the only place you could do is do a stem mount for your phone for some form of navigation. What's nice to see on this bike though is we've obviously got your jog dial and everything from some of the like the GS, but we've also brought over traction control, cruise control. I think it's great having a cruise control on a bike like this, because where you are so aggressively bent over, then that means you can set it and then you can rest your wrists just to help yourself out. So there you go, set it at 37. I can now rest my wrists, get a bit of blood flow back in them, rest my top half for being leant over the tank so much, and it just makes kind of everyday riding just that little bit more comfortable. So if you are going through your cities and your towns, you're not having to be bent over holding at 30 miles an hour. And what's nice to see is you can change gears up whilst going along without touching the clutch or anything, but and the cruise control will stay on, but as soon as you go down, the cruise control will deactivate, because it's assuming that you're slowing down for a reason. This bike's got heated grips, buttons on the right hand side. It's going to have 3 different levels, just push it to rotate through. We have 4 different rider modes on the standard, so you got rain, road, dynamic and race pro 1. What's nice to see is there are some other rider modes that you can pay to unlock, and they will give you race pro 1, 2 and 3. Obviously you can then go into the settings of those and adjust them. to your liking. Same with the Panigale. This has got that kind of like double bubble screen, and it's not very good for keeping the wind off me. Like I said, 6'1", I'm a big lad. I probably sit quite high, which doesn't help, but the wind is like in line with my mouth, kind of chin area. So I apologise, like I said, if there is a bit of wind picking up in the mic. It's another hot day today. We're into the 20 degrees, and I can tell you there is no extra heat coming off this bike. My leg and my nuts are as cool as can be. Unlike the Panigale V4, that thing was absolutely hideous, and I was having to stop every half hour, 45 minutes just to let my body cool off. What I actually like with this seat is, yes, like I said, I am very aggressive and I'm in that typical sports bike position, but the seat has got like a flatter profile, whereas the V4, the profile of the seat at the rear was raised, so the seat was kind of pushing me forward, tilt me forward, putting even more strain onto my wrists, which I did not like. So a win for the seat for BMW. Also, it's quite comfortable. Obviously, where there is a lot of weight on the wrists, actually there's not a whole lot of weight going through my bum into the seat. And a nice feature, see the top left there, it's got the H. This bike has hill hold control, so I'm in a slight decline. All I've done is just squeezed the front brake harder than expected while stationary, and it turns it on, so I can sit back, have it in neutral, but the bike holds the brakes for me. So I'm in rain mode now, and there's still plenty of power there, but just that initial kind of 10%, 20% pickup on the throttle is a lot smoother. Move her over to dynamic, you can just feel the difference between rain and dynamic, which is exactly what you want. It's what it's there for. Let's find somewhere to pull over, have a little walk around with this bike. Oh, let's get in the shade as well. Beautiful. With a seat height of 832mm, it's pretty good. Remember, 6'1", I do have both feet flat on the floor. And the other thing is, when you're stationary like this, the weight of the bike feels like it's nothing. Coming in at 193 kilos curb weight, you can see how easily it's flickable just between my legs. That's also helped. It's got a fairly small tank, I'd say, 16.5 litres. Not the biggest, but you do have a fuel gauge, which is always nice to see. So at least you can see when you are starting to run out of fuel. This is what I mean by the very aggressive riding stance. It's something you come to expect with sports bikes. The pegs are pretty much in line with my hip. That means my knee is going to be at quite a strong bend to get to them. And as I said in the video, if I want to put my toes onto the edge of the pegs like I would normally, if I'm going into the twisties, it's even tighter. And it's a bit of a struggle for someone of my structure, shall we say. So I would just be lazy and I kind of just leave them in the middle position. Starting at the front then, we have got these M winglets, which they claim to give you an extra 17.1 kilos of downforce, but when you're going like 300 kilometers an hour, so pretty useless for the UK roads, but they look good. So that's all that's important. Got a nice brake lever guard here, one of the M billet packages. Same with the brake and clutch lever as well. Obviously the Acra can is not stock, and it sounds really nice, especially when you are getting on the throttle. Apart from that, there's not really much else to talk about off the bike. End of the day, you're getting BMW's flagship sports bike. You know what you're getting. It's fast, it's aggressive, it's designed for the track, that you can use it on the road. I think that's enough standing around off the bike. Let's get back on it, enjoy some more roads. Let's get on with it then. Slow speed handling, once again sports bike as you'd expect. Turn and circle is not the best, but putting in the clutch, just feathering it, it's easy enough to move around. Just don't be expecting super tight turning circles, because you ain't gonna get it. Oh, listen to that shifter. You can't even hear it change. Nice to see a Harley rider give the old nod. Sometimes they think they're better than the rest of us. So looking at the mirrors right now, my arms and elbows are taken up about 50% of the mirrors, but the mirror that is visible is pretty shaky. The arms are plastic, so they're kind of wobbling around quite a lot. I am enjoying the BMW today. Just a joy to ride, isn't it? I must admit, I think if I was going to get this bike, I'd probably be looking at the red, white and blue, because I just think that colour scheme just makes these bikes perfect. I love them. That's why I got the GSA in the red, white and blue over a triple black. I think you just need some colour in your bikes. Also, they look better in photos. Black bikes don't photo well. Fact, not opinion. I love this road, just leading off from Chepstow Racecourse. That's the perks of Dick Lovett in Bristol, being so close to the Chepstow Bridge. I just like popping over here, looking at this top line motorcycle and then looking at the Ducati Panigale V4. They're both super aggressive in riding style. Ducati's more aggressive and not in a good way. Engines are both so strong, but in different character senses. This is just kind of that linear, just keeps going. The Ducati is just bam, straight on it. I think they both look great. I'd give the looks, if I had to pick one, to Ducati. But the biggest win for me is that my leg and my crotch is just not on fire with this bike. So for today, for me, I am picking BMW S1000RR for the win. I could own this and I would ride this around. The Ducati, I'd have one if it sat on a mantelpiece in my house. That's the difference between these two. Also, like 5 grand. I know where I put my money. This bike oozes confidence out of you. You know that the brakes are going to stop you if you need it. You know where that throttle's taking you as soon as you start twisting it. It's that perfect combination between power and braking. Ladies and gents, if you have enjoyed this video, this full ride review of the S1000RR for 2023, please make sure you like the channel, but more importantly subscribe. We've got plenty more videos coming for the rest of this season. Season ain't over yet. So until the next one, ride safe.